Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video we will see how we can use database first approach using Entity Framework Core in our Blazor server projects. So let's begin with the tutorial. So here we have open SQL Server. So in SQL Server we'll simply connect it, click on connect, and in the database we will right click on create a new database. We're going to name it as DemoDB. Click on OK. So this creates the database, and right click on DB, new query, and here we will create table product. For product we will give simply ID and name and price. Okay, and we'll create it. So here it creates the product. Let's open Visual Studio. So in Visual Studio, so on the database side we have created one database, and in that we have one table. So now in Visual Studio we'll click on File, New Project, and we'll click on Blazor app, next, and we will name it as Blaze demo.ui and the solution as Blazor demo. Click on create. We'll remove this configure for HTTPS and select Blazor server app. Click on create. So this will create a Blazor server web application. Now in this Blazor demo we'll right click and add new project and click class library .NET Core. Click on next, and we will name it as demo.data models. Click on create, and we'll delete the class1.cs file. We will add one more project now. Click add new project, and this time we'll again one more add class library .NET Core, and here we will name this as demo.business service. We can name it as business logic. This will be the logical layer where we'll write all the logic of our application. And we'll add one API as well. Add new project, and we'll select ASP.NET Core Web Application. Next, and we will name it as demo.api. Click on create. API configure for HTTPS, will remove it. Click on create. Okay, so we have all the four layers. We have the UI, we have the API, data models, and business logic. So now in the database first approach we will have to add few dependencies on these data models. So we'll right click and manage NuGet packages. So on this manage NuGet packages we have to add three packages: Microsoft.EntityFrameworkCore, and we'll install it. So this is installed successfully. Then we have tools, install it. Then we have SQL Server and install it. So on these dependencies, we can see in the packages we have installed 3 packages: Entity Framework Core, SQL Server, and Tools. After that, we simply have to run one scaffold command. So this scaffold command refers to our database server. The database, here we have DemoDB, and the connection and the library which we are using the package, and the output directory where the models will be generated. And this force command is like if it already exists, then we simply have to overwrite it. So we'll copy it and go in this package manager console, and here you can see the default project we have to set as data models. And here also right click on data models for time being and set as data project, and simply paste it and execute. So once that is successfully executed, okay, so here we'll see that it has created the database context, then the model. So in the database context, here there is one warning regarding the connection string, so we'll comment it off. Now if in the database, if we create one more table, copy paste and name it as category, and click on create, then we see that the category table, if we refresh it, still it is not coming here. So what we have to do is we have to run the command once again. So whenever there's an update in the database, we simply have to execute this scaffold command one more time, come back here again and comment off the warning. So here we get the category and the product. So let's add few records in both the tables or any one of the table. Product, edit tab 200 rows, product 1, price 1, product 2, price 2, product 3, price 3, product 4, and price 4. So let's see the records. Let's start from product. So we have all the 4 records. Now we are done with the data models. So these data models we have to add as a reference to our API, to the business logic and the demo UI. So simply right click and add we'll go in the dependencies, add project reference, demo.data models, click on OK. Then on the UI, add project reference, demo.data models, click on OK. Fine. So let's build the project once again. So everything is successful. So far we have created 4 layers. We have created the database, we have created the data models by running the scaffold command. So whatever we have in database, the same replica we have it here in the data models project, and also the database connection which is refers to our DemoDB context, and here it contains all the DB set as well. So now what we have to do is we have to simply pull the data from our database using all the entire structure. So here in this service, we'll add few folder services, and here we'll add a new class, and we will name it as product service and add a new class, and we will name it as, will this time select as interface I product service and click on add, and we'll make it as public, and the interface as well public. In this interface we'll add one method which will return get products, and here if you hover on it, it will show us that we should inherit the demo.datamodels.models folder. So that's it. And here on this product service we will implement the interface I product service, and it will show us that we should implement it. It is returning this. Now this is all fine. Now we have to get the connection with the database. Private read only DemoDB Context_DB_Context equal to null, and we'll create the constructor of this and inject the dependency, copy it and paste it here and name it as DbContext, and this dot underscore DbContext equal to DbContext. Now using this DbContext we have to get the list of products. Return DbContext dot products dot to list. So here we have to inherit system.linkQ. So here we have the entire service ready. So this business logic, so here we are simply pulling the records from the database, nothing much complex. But in case this business logic layer, this is simply used to write all the complex logic, because as per the architecture we are not supposed to write anything in the API, so we have to create this layer. And this business logic layer we have to reference it in the API. So here in the dependencies we have to right click and add project reference demo.businesslogic, we have to reference it. Okay, and simply save it. So we are done with our business logic layer because we have created the service. Now in the controller section we have this weather forecast. We'll delete it off, and we'll delete this as well. And from the startup we have to simply, there's nothing here. We'll build this. So everything is fine so far. On the controller we'll add new controller, and in the API controller we'll select empty. We will name the controller as product controller. So in this product controller we will private read only, we'll use the product service I product service equal to null, and we simply have to import the namespace, and we'll inject this in the constructor. this dot underscore product service equal to product service. Now here we have to write a get method. So we have created an object of the service which is in the business logic layer and injected that. Now to get the record, we have to create this get products, and we have to return okay. So now here we have to create data equal to using this service dot get products. That's it. So this API will receive a call and it will simply call the business logic layer. So here's just a simple call, and it is HTTP get, and the route will be get products. So the path is API / product / get products. So in this properties launch setting, instead of this forecast, we will have API / this is the default API launch URL, API / product / get products. Okay, so here we have it. Now the connection string, if we see carefully, it is being mentioned in the DB context. So this connection string, we don't want it here. We'll simply copy it, because like whenever we deploy, we cannot deploy the entire project again if there's a change in the connection string. So we'll simply, and this needs to be added in the app settings. So in the app settings, we'll simply paste it here, the connection string. In the app setting, we have to, in this above this logging section, we will add a connection string section and paste everything here. So here, if you see, we have the connection strings, and inside the connection string we have named our connection as DB connection and given the path of the database server along with the database. So that's it. Now simply if we let's run it, let's build the solution. So everything successful so far. We close everything. Let's run the demo API and see if it pulls the data from the database. Okay, so we have not actually we have not registered this service in the startup of the API. So here we'll go and add this, will inject this. So here we have two settings. One setting is regarding the database connection, because whatever we have given in the app setting.json, from this app setting.json file we have to pull the connection and mention it in the configure service. Also we have to inject the service which we are using it here in the product controller. We are using this product service, so that we have to inject it here as a dependency. So this settings, here we have to use DemoDB.context and simply use the data models and use EntityFrameworkCore and use business service. So all these three we have referenced it here. Now let's build it once. So this time it should get the data from the DB. Let's run it. Okay, so all the 4 records we have in the database, that is being retrieved here as output. Now we are completed with our API, data models, and business logic. Now we have to call this API on our front end, which is UI, and pull the data. So whatever data we have, this forecast service, default service is there, we'll simply delete it off. And in the pages we have this fetch data dot eraser, that also will delete. We don't want that. And let's build it. If it's so it has failed, and the error is like you're not able to get this data folder. We'll remove it, no problem. Also this weather forecast service, we have removed it, that is also not required. Now we will add one folder here, add folder to create services. Now in the business logic layer also we have services, but that is the service to interact with the database. And this service, whatever we are going to create in the UI folder, the front end, that service is actually to interact with the API. So the UI will call the API will call the business logic, and business logic will make use of data models using the database DbContext and try to pull the data. So here we will name the service as front end service. So we can create services according to our domain as well, or according to, for example, if we have product, we have admin, we have category, customer. So for each and everything we can create a separate service as well, or we can have a single service to call all the APIs. So here we'll add a new class. This time we'll add interface, front end service.cs, and the interface will make it public. And this front end service will simply inherit it here. Now in this front end service we have to add the logic method to call our API. So here we will create list of product get products, and we'll inherit the required namespace, and this we will put it inside a task because we're going to call it using await and async. And in the front end service we'll allow it to implement it. So it has implemented this. Now we have to create an object of private read only http client underscore http client equal to null, and this http client is part of system.net, so that will using. Now we have to inject this http client inside the constructor. This dot http client equal to http client. Now return http client dot now here we have to write the code to call our API. So for that purpose we'll simply write this method using http client get the list of product and call our API product get products. And here we have to use async and await queue. because this DB call will be asynchronous. Now you can see that we are not able to get this method. So for this we have to install one NuGet package here in our front end. So that package is this one, Microsoft.ASP.NET Core Blazor HTTP client. So simply copy the package manager command and go in this package manager console, and this time we have to set the UI as the default project, and in this select UI. Let's clear off and paste it and enter. So once this is installed successfully, we have to simply import it using the namespace and it will start working. So in our front end service we have written the code to call the API. So this front end service will call it. Now we have to register this service in our startup.cs in the configure services. So here in this service startup.cs we have to add the HTTP client, and instead of product service we have to add front end service. Okay, so this way we are injecting the service in our HTTP client, and here we are going to write the port number of the API. So our front end service is ready to call the API, and API will call the business logic and make use of data models and DbContext to pull the data. So we have already seen like that our API is already running and it is getting the data. Now our front end service is also ready. Now simply we have to create one page and add a user component, and let's name it as data view. Click on add, and in this we have to create the grid structure to display the data. So on this data view.tracer we'll simply paste, and I'll explain what it is. Here we are using the front end service and we'll name it as underscore front end service, and this front end service will simply call the get products. So what we are doing here is simply we are creating an object of the front end service and injecting it here, and using that object we are calling the get products. So this front end service will, this object from the Blazor component, it will call the front end service, and this front end service will call the API, and the control from the API will go to the business logic, and from the business logic it will pull the data, and then it will again reverse back the data and send it on the UI. So here we have the fetch data, and instead of product name we have name, and the third one we have price. Product price. So that's it. Now we have to simply close everything and set the API and the UI both as the startup. So right click on the Blazor project and multiple startup projects, start, and the API and UI both are set as the startup project, and we'll simply run it to see if it works. So both our API and UI are launched. So the API port number is 502. Let's run it once again. 502.264. So this number we have to give it in the UI so that it works proper. In startup.cs we have to give the correct port number. Now let's run it. So the API is getting called and pulling the data. And on the UI, let's click on fetch data. So here we can see the data being pulled from the database. Just to see how the control goes on, let's put the breakpoint here on this and also on the API and also on the business logic services, and simply go back on home and come back on fetch data. So first the control will go on the front end service. Let's put a breakpoint here on the data view.razor as well to see. Click on continue. So from there it will go on the product controller. Put a breakpoint here as well. Continue. Then it will go in the product service, which is part of business logic. Then continue. Here if you see the data, we have all the 4 records being returned out. Then click on continue, and here we can see the product being displayed. So here in this video we have seen all the 4 different layers, and whenever we are going to deploy it, this API will get deployed separately and the UI will get deployed separately, or we can deploy it on the same port as well. So whenever we deploy, we simply have to change the app setting and change the connection string of our database server actual where we are going to deploy, and in the demo UI in the startup.cs we simply have to change the port number. That's it. So that was it for today. See you in the next video, and thanks for watching. And if you have any doubt regarding this entire video, you can let us know in our comment box and we'll surely try to reply. Thanks for watching.